Hi everyone, this is Joshua Orro, the Mustang Prince. Welcome to Mustang Prince Orro Reports. There was a time when classic cartoons that aired on TV, which were the ones that were considered fun and hilarious and memorable, were still aired on and watched a lot by folks. However, nowadays some of these classic shows are considered canceled or lost from television, and sometimes Hollywood can have a hard time bringing back the memories of those shows by making movies based on them. Some films based on these shows, so I've heard, didn't have much of the charm that the shows did have due to the fact that these films were live action and makes audiences question what were they watching. And on the other hand, the films based on cartoons that seem to be going in the right direction are the animated ones. And just recently, I saw a really good example of an anime film based on a show done correctly. However, before I get started, I should probably give some background on today's subject, Mr. Peabody. Now, for those who don't know, Mr. Peabody is a cartoon dog who appeared in the late 50s and early 1960s animated show, The Rocky and Bullwinkle and Friends, and The Rocky and Bullwinkle Show, which was produced by Jay Ward. Peabody appeared in the Peabody's Improbable History segments created by Ted Kay and was voiced by Bill Scott, where Sherman was voiced by Walter Tetley. The show revolves around Peabody, who has accomplished many things in his life as a business magnate, inventor, scientist, Nobel laureate, gourmet, and two-time Olympic medalist. One day, Peabody becomes sad and lonely and decides to adopt his own human son in an alley where he meets a boy named Sherman, a dorky, glasses-wearing, orange-haired kid. After saving him from a group of bullies, Peabody discovers that Sherman is an orphan and decides to adopt him. After a court appearance and a talk with the president and government, Peabody becomes Sherman's new guardian. Peabody realizes that boys do need running rooms, so he invents a time machine called a Wayback as a birthday present for Sherman. Throughout the show, he and Sherman then go back in time to many different historical events and encounter many famous legendary people from history. Now, during my childhood, I didn't really watch that many animated TV shows, which I'm disappointed to say. But now it's time to get started on the main subject, which was distributed by 20th Century Fox and DreamWorks Skg. Released in American theaters on March 7th, 2014, the movie is, well, Mr. Peabody and Sherman. Now, just a reminder to all my viewers that when I talk about a movie's plot, I only explain a short summary of it. Because if I did that, it would be a spoiler alert. So here I go with as much information as I can. Mr. Peabody, the most accomplished canine in the world, and his boy Sherman use a time machine called the Wayback to embark on many outrageous adventures. However, when Sherman takes the Wayback without permission to impress his friend Penny, he accidentally rips a hole in the universe and causes havoc with world history. So it's up to Mr. Peabody to mount a rescue and prevent the past, present, and future from being permanently altered. So, what did I think of this film? Well, let me just say this. It was a fantastic thrill ride through time. And I recommend you guys to see this film. But, here's what I got for something that I like to call Mustang notes of the film. The director of the movie was Rob Minkoff, who directed films like The Lion King, the first two Stuart Little movies, and The Haunted Mansion. And what do I have to say about this guy other than the fact that he can't go wrong with his directing skills? Plans for the film, based on the characters of Mr. Peabody and Sherman, have existed for several years with director Rob Minkoff. His first attempt to make a feature film goes back to 2003, when it was reported that Minkoff's Sony-based production company, Sprocketdyne Entertainment, and Bullwinkle Studios would produce a live-action CGI film with the possibility of Minkoff to direct it. The live-action film was not realized, but in 2006, Minkoff joined DreamWorks Animation to direct a computer-animated film adaptation. Andrew Kurtzman was set to write the screenplay based on the pitch developed by Minkoff, with his longtime producing partner Jason Clarke. What was also interesting about it is that Tiffany Ward, the daughter of Jay Ward, one of the creators of the original series, served as an executive producer whose job was to make sure the film stayed true to the integrity of the characters. When she was approached by Minkoff 10 years before the film's released, she was enthused by his intention to respect the legacy, and she said, "What better caretaker for the characters could we ask than Rob?" Lengthy pursuit to make the adaptation perfect took them a long time, but she was pleased with the end result, which stayed very true to the original cartoon. Plus, the music in the film by Danny Elfman was really, really epic in the movie. And also, what do I have to say about the animation? Well, it's very well done, and it does give out great details to the places in time Mr. Peabody, Sherman, and Penny go to on their adventure, from France to Egypt to Italy and Greece. Okay, and now to move on to the characters and their voice actors. Originally, Mr. Peabody was going to be voiced by Robert Downey Jr., but in March 2012, he was replaced by Ty Burrell, who has been in films such as Law & Order, Dawn of the Dead, National Treasure 2, and The Incredible Hulk, and he will also be starring in the upcoming Muppets Most Wanted film this month. According to Rob Minkoff, Burrell was chosen because his voice embodied all the different aspects of the character today. Not just the intellect and the suave personality, but the underlying warmth as well. Peabody's son Sherman is voiced by Max Charles, who plays a young Peter Parker in the Amazing Spider-Man film. Penny Peterson is voiced by Ariel Winter, who I already talked about in my two Sophia the First blogs, so you already know what she's been in already. Penny isn't a character from the show, but she was a good addition to the film. She starts out like the typical bully girl, like this girl, for example. But as the movie goes on, she starts to like Sherman and his dad more. Plus, I like how Ariel Winter voices her. It's so adorable. Penny's parents, Paul and Patty Peterson, are voiced by Leslie Mann and Stephen Colbert. Now, these two aren't that much important to the story, but while they spend time with Peabody during dinner, it gets really interesting, which can be a really common thing when most adult parents do when they make new friends. Next, there's Mrs. Grunion, the children's services agent and, surprised to say, villain of the film, voiced by Allison Janney. This character was really nasty, and her abusive attitude made me think of a couple other crazy and abusive women that I've seen in films before. But my favorite character in the film, believe it or not, was Leonardo da Vinci, voiced by Stanley Tucci. Leonardo was really, really fun. He made me smile and laugh, even seeing his art and inventions were really cool. Especially the part when Sherman, Peabody, and Penny have to stop in Italy to get their way back fixed. The rest of the cast included Patrick Warburton, Zach Callison, Mel Brooks, Lake Bell, Laurie Fraser, and Jess Harnell, who do a fantastic job. And now to move on to my final words. Above all, Mr. Peabody and Sherman is a real blast. The animation is fantastic, the characters are fun, memorable, and hilarious, and I recommend it to anyone who's a fan of the original show and cartoons alike. This truly is a must-see for all audiences, and so it's for that very reason that I give this film the highest rating of 100%. Well, that's all I have for today. But be sure to join me for my next blog. Mustang Power!